way I think to think about getting started is to decide if you're up for an adventure, because it will be an adventure. It'll be a little bit unlike having a dog or a cat or other things, although there is an aspect of animal husbandry involved in keeping honeybees that gives you that same sense of satisfaction. It's still different. And well, I love to see colonies respond to the signals of spring. And the queen begin to lay eggs, and the colony grows and brings in pollen, and the population increases, and then the colony starts producing honey. It's just a fascinating thing. And I'm also a biologist and a geneticist, so I find all aspects of beekeeping pretty fascinating, especially the bee breeding part, which is something that I'm particularly interested in. Here we are in the heart of Lynn Grove, where my family first got started in beekeeping back in the 1880s. In 1888, my great-grandmother and great-grandfather got 10 hives as a wedding present from my great-grandmother's brother, who'd been keeping bees for 10 or 15 years at that point himself. So Weavers have been keeping bees for almost 120 years now. And oh, wait a minute, 130 years now. Lose track. So the interesting thing, well, there are many interesting things about that, but my great-grandmother's brother got started in beekeeping when he captured his first swarm, and he did that in a rather unconventional fashion. He was proceeding down the road and noticed a big swarm in a tree, and he didn't have anything to put the swarm in. So he quickly disrobed, took off his long johns, knotted the ends of the legs of his long johns, and shook the swarm into his long johns, and brought home the first swarm that he got in his underwear and hived it. So that's how he got started in beekeeping. So, you know, improvisation. Improvisation is a tradition in the Weaver family, right? In beekeeping. And we've always tried to be innovative. We've tried to approach beekeeping both from a perspective of learning all there is to know from other people, and then trying to learn new things ourselves about better ways and better techniques of doing things. My grandfather was instrumental in commercializing large-scale queen rearing. He began the process, and then my father and uncle perfected it. And we've continued to develop bees of our own breed for, lo, these many years.
A little background on me is that I grew up in Houston, and I really didn't even know what a beehive looked like. I knew what honeybees were, but I didn't know what a beehive looked like. And I remember when I was little trying honey from a honey bear and not liking it very much. Most likely it was tallow honey or something like that, very strong. So for a little kid, it wasn't very tasty. My parents bought a place in the country, and I ended up meeting my husband, and he of course grew up in bees. So I love animals, and so I naturally took to honeybees. I had to pick my favorite part of bees, why I like them so much, is they work together as a unit better than any animal that I can think of. They will build a hive together, defend a hive together, forage for food together, do everything so that they can survive. The heart of the hive is the queen, and every bee in that hive will literally give its life to keep her alive. I had a hive about 2 years ago, and it was March, and they had come out of clusters, so they'd started laying, and they weren't able to stay warm when a cold front came, and it got down into the 20s. When I saw there wasn't much flight on that hive, I went and checked. There was one queen alive, the queen, along with 3 worker bees. The entire hive had given their life keeping her alive. Beekeeping, with what is changing in the world, and I feel like so far our breed has done that. I feel like our business is doing that. And if we can also educate and bring more people into the circle of understanding honeybees instead of having a fear of honeybees or even an ignorance or a distaste of them, if we can bring more people into the circle of understanding that if we have honeybees, then we have food. If we have honeybees, then we have a habitat that we can all enjoy. Because without pollination, we don't get either of those things.
It all began back in 1966. Matter of fact, I knew exactly the date, February the 28th, 1966. That's when I started here, which I was 21 years old. And I had come out of high school about 3 years ago, and then I decided, I was helping my dad around on the farm a lot. And I decided about time for me to step out and, try to get me a job on my own. He said, that's fine. They all call me Buddy. So he said, that's fine, Buddy. And I went out and started looking for a job, and I saw this ad in the newspaper. A young man do beekeeping, because I was a young man then, so I was ready. And so I decided to come out and talk to them. First I read them a letter, and then I come out and talk to them about it. And they said, well, do you think you can put your hand into a hive of bees? I said, well, wait a minute. I said, ain't you got men doing that too? I said, well, if they do it, I can do it too. So I started doing it, and I worked here a while, and I met a few guys. They were real nice to work with, and real nice people. So I began to like it. Working with nice people got a lot to do with it. And I worked with nice people. They seemed to enjoy it, and I was enjoying working with the bees, because it's a new experience for me. Working bees, it's just real nice how you can take a bee and make him do wonderful things. And I started doing this, and I decided, I believe I like this here. And my employer, they were real nice, and I went for it. And they told me, then they called me up and got to talking to me and said, well, Roosevelt, I believe you're going to be a pretty good beekeeper. I said, yeah, I told you, if another man do it, I can do it too. If you have a hive of bees, the first thing you want to learn how to do, learn how to approach your hive. If you got a hive of bees, you're going to have a smoker with smoke. Always smoke your entrance. Like I tell people, when you go into people's houses, you don't just walk in. You want to ring the doorbell, even let them knock and let them know you're there. So that's when I say, smoke the entrance. That's why the bees go in and out. So you smoke them, and you let them know that you're coming. And then when you do that, smoke them good, then you take the top off, and then that's why you begin to kind of go into them there. And when you go into them kind of gentle, like easy. Don't go in real fast, hurry. Kind of like a robot. Robots, real easy. If you be easy on them, they'll go easy on you. And every once in a while, give them a puff of smoke. Keep them calm. I don't know why people was afraid of being stung. Or, a bee sting, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt long. Like I tell people, I had something that hurt me more than a bee sting, because my wife gave me divorce back in 1989. Now that was a hurt, a terminal hurt. It stayed with me for a long time. But a bee sting doesn't last long. But I don't know why people be afraid of it, but I think if you get around, if people get around, like it says, that you afraid of bees, if you get around me and work with me a while and see I'm not afraid of them, I think you won't be afraid of them.
Our bees today are genetically resistant to the exotic parasitic mites that are responsible for a lot of the colony mortality and vector many of the other pathogens that are contributors to the unusual colony mortality that's being experienced worldwide. So if you buy our queens and bees, the thing that you'll have going for you is you won't have to worry about management of varroa mites or controlling the viral pathogens that they vector. because our bees are naturally able to cope with and thrive in the presence of varroa mite infestation. They naturally suppress, tolerate, or resist varroa mites and the pathogens that they carry. So I'm quite proud of that, because that is the feather in my cap, what I contributed to the legacy of beekeeping in the Weaver family. Happy to talk to people when they come out about bees and beekeeping, because I really think it's an enjoyable experience for most people, and it can become quite addictive, in fact, for people who get involved. I think that there's nothing better for providing both mental stimulation and psychological relaxation than working a beehive. First, you've got to get over the natural fear of honeybees, but once you do that, and once you relax and learn how relatively simple it is to manipulate a colony if you do it correctly, it can be a wonderful source of enjoyment and just a great way to relax and enjoy life. I just encourage everyone, whether or not you want to be a beekeeper, to appreciate how valuable honeybees are in the environment and everything that they contribute. I mean, after all, we're standing in the shade of some beautiful trees out here, and those trees can't propagate without pollinators to come along and pollinate their flowers and produce seed. So bees are important, and all pollinators are important, and I encourage everyone to learn as much as you can about pollinators and do everything you can to sustain them, because they really are an integral component of the fabric of life.